Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here with another book review. But before I get into that, I just want to make a couple of notes. Number one, my microphone transmitter actually just broke while I was trying to set up. And so while it is working, hopefully fingers crossed that will stay working, my camera might be a little bit tilted because the stand that is on and the way the transmitter goes, like it's sitting, it's working, and it's connected. And so I don't want to risk like adjusting anything, changing anything, and disconnecting the mic. So that's why if I am at an angle, I apologize. But that's what's going on. I will have a new microphone in my cart this weekend because I got this one from Amazon. So it works fine. I just might need to reorder. But for tonight, we're going to get into the book discussion, book review on White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. I'm not going to give any spoilers, so if you haven't read the book, I'm not going to tell anything that will ruin it for you. But it is a young adult or YA book, and the author is a black female author, which I did actually mean to do this review in February, but actually life happened and it didn't happen. And here we are. But that's why I did want to share it because I did finish this book, read and finish this book in February as well. But I've done a review on one other book by Tiffany, and that is the book Grown. So I will link that video review at the end of this one so that you can check it out as well, especially if you think you might be interested in some more books by Tiffany. She has written some other books. This is her first book that is in kind of like the horror um arena, but most of her books I would say are kind of like realistic fiction, and they deal with topics particularly with black female characters, but black or African American characters especially, and young adults who are dealing with different issues that are very real for a lot of our young adults unfortunately today, such as, you know, maybe teen pregnancy or abuse and other things going on with young girls especially, that people aren't necessarily aware of or that they're dealing with in society today. So that's what most of the books are about. But this one, like I said, is her first delve into the horror section, and I think she did an excellent job. Um, this particular book is about a girl, the main character here on the cover. Her name is Marigold, like the flower, and her and her family are relocating from California, you know, on the coast. They live, I think, near the beach. So she has a pretty good life. Her parents, or at least her dad, so her dad does really well in terms of work, and her mom is like a writer or author, and she has remarried. So her actual parents are divorced, and her mom is remarried. Her stepfather is white, and he had a daughter as well. So he brought in a daughter into the marriage, and Marigold's mom brought in Marigold and her younger brother Sammy. So you have this blended family situation, and as with some blended families, unfortunately, it's not, you know, all roses. And so part of the reason it's not so much about race, but part of the reason is it feels like when you start off reading the book, it feels like the dad, who is Piper, which is her little sister's name, tends to believe everything Piper, who is young, she's like elementary age, young, says. And so she doesn't like, she's the typical bratty little sister. And so she does not get along so much with Marigold and Sammy. Sammy's kind of neutral, like he just says what he thinks and goes on about his way, like typical boy. And he's not really too bothered, but it's like it's kind of like Marigold and Sammy against Piper, but Sammy is kind of like in the middle where he's kind of nonchalant. But the two girls definitely do not get along and have sister issues essentially. So when they move from California to this new location in Cedarville, the city of Cedarville, um, it's supposed to be like a fresh start. It's supposed to be a fresh start for Marigold because of a situation that she experienced at her high school in California, where I will just say it involved her getting into some things. She was a track star. She was doing very well, and then she kind of had like a negative situation happen, and it just kind of ruined everything for her. So she's in high school. She had a typical life before that, and so it has caused some distrust of her in general because her parents kind of look at her like you know, they're constantly, especially her mother is constantly kind of watching or hovering over her. They want to know like what she's doing. The mom is like, where are you going? What are you doing? She's kind of monitoring, keeping an eye on her to kind of make sure she does not um, show any signs of going through whatever she went through before. And the dad just doesn't trust her because of the situation. So she's still earning and regaining the trust of both of the parents in the household. And so she also has anxiety about bed bugs. And so that is something else that she carries with her from the previous incident. And you see her really, really fixated on when they first move into this house. She's checking like every corner, everything to make sure there are no like bed bugs or anything that's clean, and all of the things that she knows the techniques for either keeping bed bugs away or killing them if need be. She makes sure, preventing and all that. She does all that to the house. But the interesting thing about this fresh start, it's supposed to be a fresh start for Marigold. It's supposed because she'll be in a new school, new area, nobody knows her, and so nobody will know about her past. And then it's also supposed to be a fresh start for the family as a whole because they'll be moving somewhere together. The mom was offered a fellowship that allows her as an author to write, work on her book, do the research, and she gets to live in this house for free, like a brand new, was a renovated house for free. And so they felt like it was a great move also financially because they don't have to pay a mortgage for, I think it was 3 years that they're supposed to be there. Maybe it was just one. I have to look back. But for the time that they're there, they have at least 1 year of no mortgage. I think it was 3 years. So, but 3 years, no mortgage, all of that. And so the other thing is the city of Cedarville has gone through some kind of traumatic situation. And when they get there, all they see is, abandoned houses, like think of like a neighborhood that maybe is run down now, that nobody lives in, maybe had some fires, maybe had, drug houses, or just, not somewhere that, you might have people squatting, that kind of thing. It doesn't look like a very welcoming neighborhood that you would want to live in, especially with children. But when they get to their house, it is like it stands out because it's a fully renovated, brand new house in the middle of all of that kind of like rundown, whatever. And so the man over the fellowship, Mr. Sterling, is saying, like, this is the beginning of this um rebirth of this area of Cedarville. So you guys are the first family. This is the first house. We're going to eventually do all the houses on the block and bring people in. And it's going to be this great community again because it used to be a great place and a great community. And then something happens, which we do find out through in the story, that caused it to look the way that it does. And so, but no one wants to really speak on that. And that is what piques Marigold's attention because she's like, something doesn't seem right here, but everybody's acting kind of strange, or they kind of tiptoe around the subject when you start asking questions about why the neighborhood looks the way it is. How come, you're doing this program and we have the only nice shiny house in the midst of all this, and the neighbors, there are people that live on the other streets, just not on her street. So the neighbors in the surrounding streets and areas, they look at them funny, or it's kind of like, why are they here? Like, who are those people? And blah, blah, blah. Like, those kinds of looks. And so Marigold just has a sense that something is off, but she cannot figure out what that something is. So what we journey through this book in seeing is, one, Marigold trying to get to the bottom of what all is going on, and two, um, she thinks that her house is haunted. So hence that's where the horror part comes in. So from the time that they move in, like I said, she notices that the workers were still there, kind of finishing up some last minute touches on the house. And so she notices that right at 5 o'clock, which would be like quitting time for the construction workers, they are out that door. Like, they don't stick around to chat. They are not, they grab their stuff and they are gone. And so, and anytime like she asks them questions about certain things, they just kind of like tiptoe again around there. So they give a little something, but it still feels like they're not telling her the whole story. So that continues to pique her curiosity. And then strange things start happening in the house. She thinks she's hearing and seeing things, or odd things are happening. And she's like, none of us did these things, or, move something or put something out, and it's here. And then she's hearing sounds and just a lot of creepy, spooky stuff. So she's kind of in the midst of, am I just paranoid? Is it my, brain in overdrive or whatever, or is it really something going on? So she's dealing with all that, plus adding to the fact that there is seemingly some kind of mystery around the whole neighborhood in terms of like the past of it. And you get the story. And so the story definitely had a twisted ending, which I loved. And I don't mean twisted in a bad way, I mean twisted as in like what you're reading it and what you expect to happen, and then what actually becomes reality is interesting. So I really like that, and I really enjoyed the book overall. I would definitely recommend it to read it, even though, like I said, it is a YA book. It is for ages 14 and up. There's nothing super graphic in there. There's nothing sexual, that type of thing. So if you are someone who is thinking about getting it for, a young adult to read, or maybe if you're a teacher and you want to use it, like, it's not super graphic or anything like that. It's really a good book that would be able to be read by the appropriate audience without any issues, or without dipping into too many topics that maybe, you're not ready to talk about, possibly. But either way, I really enjoyed the book in that sense. And I like I said, the twist in the ending. I really like that. But one of the other things I like about Tiffany's books, like I said, a lot of her things, even though they are fictional pieces, they deal with real life issues. And so one of the things that we will see dealing with the Cedarville rebirth, I guess you could say, it's really a cover up of gentrification. And as you read the book and find out about the history of the area, and Mr. Sterling, who was the man who created the Sterling Foundation, and that's who awarded Marigold's mom the fellowship for her to move there, you will see how Mr. Sterling and the Sterling Foundation, the board members on the Sterling Foundation, how that all ties into the concept of gentrification, and also what they're trying to do with the neighborhood. And a lot of times when you hear gentrification, especially if you're talking to a person of color that has lived in a neighborhood that may not have been in the greatest condition and now is being gentrified, unfortunately, that usually means that the people of color are getting pushed out because they can't afford to live there anymore. And I always find that to be unfortunate. I went to school at Howard University, which is in Washington, D.C., and the street, the main street or drag that Howard kind of sits on, it's like Georgia Avenue. And if you're familiar with the area, you know what I'm talking about. But all up and down that street and that area around Howard, it wasn't horrible, but it was just kind of like an older area. Some areas were a little shady, but not. I never felt. I will say this: I never felt unsafe as a student walking at night. I wasn't walking by myself most times. I would usually be with someone, other classmates or whatnot. But even walking the streets then, I did not feel unsafe. And yes, we took some back alleys that we probably shouldn't have at night sometimes, but it was near campus and around campus. But I never felt unsafe. Yes, there are people who looked a little sketchy. Yes, there were homeless people and other people around that would make you kind of be like, let me keep my eye on them. Definitely that type of situation. But all in all, like, I really liked the area, and I actually lived on a street. I mean, lived off of Georgia Avenue on a street near Metro Station. And the area at the time, the row house that we were renting, it was actually every other row house around it was being purchased and renovated, and people were reselling, and so that area was basically getting gentrified. And now when I went, like, the last few years since I've gone back, it looks like another cookie cutter area. And that's one of the other things that about gentrification, it kind of takes away the character. Like, sometimes that kind of sketchy looking hole in the wall restaurant that has the best food, like, those are the places that make an area unique. Like, that's what gives it like that little character. And so when gentrification comes in, yes, everything looks shiny and brand new, but I also feel like it takes away the character. It takes away some of the people. Some of the people, you're not sad that they get taken away, but also there are other people's, like, I'm thinking of elderly people and whatnot, that get pushed out because they can no longer afford the rent or whatever where they are. And if they do own a house, then there's always seemingly someone trying to get their land, and that someone is usually a major company of some sort, which typically is like white owned or a group that wants it, and they are trying to force, if the black person, or it's usually a black person. So I'll just go ahead and say, if the black person says, no, we don't want to sell, then they try and make it miserable and cause all these issues for them until they do get the land. So you see some very similar situations to that happening in this book. And I really like the way that Tiffany kind of created this story, and the story has its own, you know, plot and everything going on, but it's also very true. You can tie it into a lot of real issues surrounding gentrification today. So if you again are using this for like a teaching tool, you could definitely make that real world connection with that, and kind of how those types of things that you see in the book happen in real life and the impacts that they have on communities and people and all of that. So definitely a great little lesson plan there if you like this book in as a class, or if it's something that you put in maybe your classroom library. But overall, I would recommend this book. It was a very easy read. I would say that this book, I haven't had a book in quite some time, physical book, that kept me turning the pages. And it's not that I haven't read good books lately. It's just that this one was so good that I just wanted to see what happened next. And so I would be like laying in bed, like turning pages, like trying to read through it, because I didn't want to like wait till the next day to continue reading. And it's just been a while since I've had a book, a paper book or hard copy book, that has made me like that. Now I'm listening to some things on Audible where I've gone through it in a couple of days. So that's not, it's not that I haven't read or listened to any good books, but in terms of hard copy books, this one definitely had me, as a page turner. So I would definitely recommend it on that sense. But again, let me know if you guys have read White Smoke, or if you plan on reading it or think you might read it now that you've heard a little bit about it. And let me know what you thought about it if you read it. And let me know if you think you might be interested in reading it as well. Again, Tiffany D. Jackson is a great writer, and this is my second book that I read of hers, but she also wrote some other books that I do plan to check out as well, such as Allegedly and Monday's Not Coming. So you may have heard of those titles. They're also very popular. She's a New York Times best-selling author. So definitely check out some of her books, even if White Smoke is not for you. If you're not a horror story person or a scary story person, like I said, the other books are not in that realm. She does have one other one that falls in this lane that came after White Smoke, and it's called The Weight of Blood. Yes, that was the other one. I don't think they're connected or related, but it is another like horror story book. And like I said, at the end of this one, I will link Grown, which is the other book that I've read by her as well. So again, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and I will see you next time.